Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION The World is One. I'm Adya Janeja and this is Speed News. Let's start with all the stories making headlines today. In the high-stakes Trump-Xi meet, Chinese President Xi Jinping warned his US counterpart Donald Trump that the issue of Taiwan could push their two countries into conflict if mishandled. Xi called Taiwan the most important issue in China-US relations in his meeting with Trump, who is in Beijing for a summit with the Chinese leader, according to Xinhua. White House said the talks between US President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping lasted more than 2 hours, during which the leaders tackled thorny issues including Taiwan, self-ruled democratic island claimed by Beijing. And according to a readout published by the official Xinhua news agency, Xi told Trump that if Taiwan is handled well, US-China relations will enjoy overall stability. Xi Jinping told Trump that China and US should overcome Thucydides' trap and forge a new paradigm of relations as the world has reached to a new crossroad, while Xi signaled concerns over escalating rivalry between the rising and established powers. A group of prominent CEOs attended a welcome ceremony for President Donald Trump at Beijing's Great Hall of the People. The delegation included Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang, Apple's Tim Cook, and executives from more than a dozen other major companies such as Boeing, BlackRock, and Visa. Russia launched a barrage of drones and missiles at Kiev that killed 1 and injured at least 16 others. Well, this comes as Kremlin demanded Ukraine to cede territories which is claimed by Russia, which, according to Moscow, would open a corridor towards peace talks. Vance dismisses White House-run talk. Foreign ministers of BRICS nations are in New Delhi for the BRICS foreign ministers meeting. The 2-day summit is currently underway at New Delhi's Bharat Mandapam. The expanded grouping is expected to discuss escalating tensions in West Asia and their impact on global energy security. Attending foreign ministers and heads of delegation will make a joint call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Seva Tirath later in the day. This will be followed by a formal dinner hosted by S. Jaishankar. A Chinese supertanker carrying 2 million barrels of Iraqi crude sailed through the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday. Well, this comes after it was stranded in the Gulf for more than 2 months due to the US-Iran war. Police said they detained a person in connection with gunfire the previous night inside the Philippine Senate, where a lawmaker wanted by the International Criminal Court took refuge. Well, the shooting did not result in any casualties and came as the one-time enforcer of ex-President Rodrigo Duterte's deadly drug crackdown sheltered at the legislature. It was not immediately clear how many suspects were involved in the shooting, with Philippine authorities saying investigation was still ongoing. The United States renewed an offer of $100 million in aid for Cuba. While speaking last week in Rome, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Cuba had rejected an offer of $100 million in assistance, an assertion denied by the Havana government. The State Department on Wednesday publicly renewed the proposal, which comes after the United States filed new sanctions against key parts of Cuba's state-controlled economy. Lebanon and Israel are to hold new peace talks in Washington. Well, this as their latest ceasefire, considered to still be in place despite hundreds of deaths in Israeli strikes, nears its end. Well, Lebanon's health ministry said that 22 people, including 8 children, were killed a day prior as Israel intensified its airstrikes. The two nations last meet on 23rd of April at the White House, where US President Donald Trump announced a 3-week of ceasefire extension and voiced optimism for a historic agreement. A top envoy for US President Donald Trump's Board of Peace says the ceasefire in Gaza is holding but remains far from perfect, with daily violations being reported. Nikolay Mladenov urged Hamas to disarm, accusing the group of tightening its grip on Gaza's population. But the ceasefire came into force on October 10th, just days after the second anniversary of Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. Yet Gaza remains engulfed in daily violence, with Israeli strikes continuing and both sides accusing each other of breaking the truce. US Army recovered the body of the second soldier who went missing during the African Line 2026 military exercises in Morocco after the pair disappeared near a cliff on the Atlantic coast. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has rejected a CNN news report alleging that CIA operatives were directly involved in a targeted assassination outside Mexico City. Speaking at a press conference, Sheinbaum slammed the story as false and truly sensationalist. Mexico's top security official and the CIA also dismissed the CNN report as a fabrication. The CNN report comes a month after the death of 2 CIA operators as they returned from an anti-narcotics operation in Chihuahua, unleashing scandal in Mexico and diplomatic tension with the Trump administration. Fresh revelations have surfaced in the ongoing probe by the Central Bureau of Investigation into the massive NEET or NEET paper leak held on 3rd of May. The investigation has uncovered an organized network that funneled exam questions from Haryana to Rajasthan. Well, the origins were traced to a student from Rajasthan's Sikar, pursuing his MBBS in Kerala. The student allegedly received the material from a friend and shared it with a hostel owner and others in his hometown. According to IG Ajay Pal Lamba of the Special Operations Group, well, the leak originated with a person in Gurugram before reaching the medical student. The Karnataka government revoked a 2022 order that enforced uniforms and barred hijabs in schools and colleges. Well, in a statement, the state's Department of School Education and Literacy stated that it allows students to wear hijab, turban, sacred thread and rudraksh along with institutional uniform, provided they do not interfere with discipline, safety or student identification. It also added that students cannot be compelled either to wear or remove religious or traditional symbols permitted under the order. Milk prices are set to go up as dairy brands like Amul and Mother Dairy have increased prices by 2 rupees across several variants. The new prices are set to come in effect from today. In a statement, the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation (GCMMF), which markets milk and milk products under the Amul brand, stated that it has increased prices by 2 rupees per litre. A powerful storm triggering heavy rains and strong winds across multiple districts of Uttar Pradesh killed at least 52 people. The storm uprooted trees, damaged houses, disrupted traffic movement and affected electricity and communication networks in several areas. Authorities said that at least 16 people have been killed after a severe dust storm in Prayagraj. Torrential rains have triggered severe flooding in a district near Turkey's Black Sea coast, inundating homes and businesses and sweeping away cars. At least 12 people were hospitalized with minor injuries. The heavy rainfall late caused rivers in the Hafsa district of Samsun province to overflow, sending waters rushing down streets carrying vehicles and debris. Microsoft-owned LinkedIn is planning to lay off about 5% of its global workforce as part of a major internal restructuring, according to people familiar with the matter. The cuts come as the company reorganizes teams and shifts focus towards high-growth areas, even as its revenue continues to rise. LinkedIn has over 17,500 employees worldwide, and the affected divisions have not yet been disclosed. The company said the move is part of strategic realignment and not driven by AI replacing jobs. Spain's digital transformation minister Oscar Lopez has said that the country will move ahead with tougher rules for social media and AI despite strong lobbying from tech companies. He said the profit of 4 tech companies cannot come at the expense of millions of citizens' rights and warned against allowing a law of the jungle in digital spaces. Well, Spain is also pushing for stricter EU-wide regulations, including measures to curb harmful AI systems and force platforms to reveal how their algorithms work. Well, the move comes amid wider European efforts led by Ursula von der Leyen to tackle addictive social media design and protect children from risks like cyberbullying and harmful content. US House lawmakers have asked education software company Instructure to testify over repeated cyber attacks that exposed personal data of millions of students worldwide. The House Homeland Security Committee is investigating the breaches which reportedly allowed hackers to exploit vulnerabilities and steal sensitive information from school systems. Lawmakers are seeking details on how the company responded, what data was compromised, and its coordination with cybersecurity agency CISA. Instructure, which operates the Canvas education platform, recently confirmed it reached an agreement with hackers Shiny Hunters, who claim to have deleted stolen data and ended extortion attempts. A full-size humanoid robot stole the spotlight at an industry summit in Hong Kong, where it was seen dancing smoothly to music with human-like movements. But the robot, developed by Agibot, is designed for embodied AI applications and can interact naturally with people, almost like a companion. The demonstration highlighted advances in AI-powered robotics and drew attention to the growing use of humanoid machines in real-world environments beyond research labs. Anthropic has, for the first time, overtaken OpenAI in verified business customer usage, according to this month's AI index from the fintech firm Ramp. Well, the data, based on expense records from more than 50,000 companies, shows 34.4% of businesses are now paying for Anthropic services compared to 32.3% for OpenAI. Well, the report marks a major shift in enterprise AI adoption, with Anthropic gaining soft and strong traction in finance, tech, and professional services. OpenAI still leads in some broader segments, but its overall share has been gradually declining, while Anthropic's usage has grown significantly over the past year. The US Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, and Elon Musk are set to appear before a federal judge to argue in favor of a $1.5 million settlement which is linked to Musk's delayed disclosure of his Twitter stake purchase in 2022. The case stems from SEC allegations that Musk failed to timely report his 5% stake in Twitter, allowing him to save around $150 million before acquiring the platform for $44 billion. A Washington, D.C. judge will review whether the settlement is fair in the public interest and free from any collusion concerns. Musk has maintained the delay was accidental and has also suggested the case was politically motivated. Microsoft has placed its Israel operations under the management of Microsoft France, following the departure of its Israel country manager. Well, the company said the change is part of a broader reorganization strategy, while its operations and workforce in Israel will continue as normal. Microsoft has a major presence in Israel with teams working in AI, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and research. Asian markets traded mixed in early trading as investors focused on the high-stakes Trump-Xi summit in Beijing and its potential impact on global trade and tech restrictions. Sentiment was supported by ongoing AI-driven strength, keeping major indices like Japan's Nikkei and Hong Kong's Hang Seng near record levels, while South Korea's Kospi stabilized after recent volatility. Gains were uneven as some profit-taking emerged in overheated tech names. China has renewed export licenses for over 400 US beef processing plants as President Trump and President Xi Jinping is meeting in Beijing. Well, the move restores eligibility for roughly 65% of previously registered US exporters, many of which had their approvals lapse over the past year. Those expirations had sharply reduced US beef shipments to China, cutting trade volumes and contributing to steep declines in export value. The renewal is seen as a diplomatic signal alongside broader US-China trade discussions at the summit, which agriculture is expected to be a key bargaining area. The step could help revive US beef access to China, though broader trade tensions and tariff structures remain in place. India has banned sugar exports until the end of September 2026 to protect domestic supply and control rising local prices. The move comes after weaker than expected sugar production for a second straight year, driven by lower cane yields and weather-related risks like erratic monsoons. The restriction applies to raw, white and refined sugar, though shipments already in the export pipeline may still be allowed under certain conditions. The decision is aimed at stabilizing domestic availability and inflation, but it is expected to tighten global supply and support international sugar prices. Singer Elton John helped the Breast Cancer Research Foundation raise millions at its annual dinner in New York. Model Elizabeth Hurley hosted the foundation's hot pink party and walked the red carpet with her son Damien Hurley. Elton's performance was in tribute to his late friend and BCRF Honorary Chair Leonard A. Lauder. Celebrity guests included singer Ashtani, designer Vera Wang and actor Neil Patrick Harris. Well, that is it in this edition. News and updates will continue on the other side. Keep watching WION World is One.